What's up, boys? We're back here in our SciCraft Skyblock challenge world, and I've got a few progress updates for you and a quick project to do today. So the first order of business is I got a few librarian villagers. We got looting for the sword, so we can use our mob grinders much more efficiently. And I also got loyalty, since we have a whole bunch of tridents now. So got loyalty, and you see I have mending on this trident because I also got the mending villager, but he's currently still up here. I can't remember exactly why. We've got the mending villager here. And who is this? Oh, I was buying bookshelves from this guy. I think I kept these guys up here because I needed to breed them more, but it looks like the babies grew up, so I'll sort them out later. While I'm up here, I had to make some changes to the iron farm because in the new update, villager behavior changed a tiny bit, so I had to add these trapdoors on the outside and some more roofs so that when the villagers wake up out of bed, they all go into the water instead of standing on the bed, because that can mess it up a little bit. And also I had to widen this area down here to a 3x3 hole because they were spawning 2 at a time and getting stuck over the 2x2 hole we had. And I made a lava trap since we have lava now. I was getting tired of having them entity cram because it's just so loud, and I'm worried that it would cause us a little bit of lag having so many iron golems down there. It's probably not a big deal, but I thought I'd do it. Then I proceeded to kill a lot of drown, and now we have a lot of tridents and a lot of gold. So that's great. And just a tip for this farm, after I've used it a bit, I did expand over here because I thought it would be nicer to be able to hit the drown from this side. For some reason their pathfinding gets messed up when I stand over here, and a whole bunch of the trident drowns will actually target me through the leaves somehow, and so they all crowd around up there, and they can't hit me, but they all crowd around up there and don't fall into the hole. So when I'm here, all their pathfinding works and they all come into the killing chamber. Otherwise, more and more trident drown will crowd up here, and there'll just be so many they fill up the mob cap and no new drown will spawn, so then this place gets emptied out and it's unfortunate. I really love standing right here in the world right now because you can see so many of our projects. You can see our slime farm down there and our cobblestone farm and all the stuff we have going on up there. And then over here we have our drown farm and just all the bridges connecting it. I think it's starting to look really cool. Like, we've made a lot of progress. So for one of the first things I wanted to do with the gold was make powered rails and connect everything up so I'd have a much easier time getting between places. So I connected our current main hub area to the animals over here, so we can take a nice easy ride to the animals. And then once you get past the animals, I also connected, I did powered rails all across this whole bridge too, so you can ride all the way to the witch farm and you don't have to worry about falling off the entire time. So you don't have to pay attention as you go to the witch farm for 5 minutes, which is super nice. Also, a little tip I learned while I did that, this is right on the wiki, but the maximum speed for a minecart is 8 meters per second, and you can reach that with 3 powered rails, and then once you're already going that speed, you can maintain it by having a powered rail every 28th block. So there's 27 normal rails and then a powered rail, and 27 and then powered rail, and this will get you up to top speed, and then it'll maintain it all the way. And that's the most efficient way to lay out your powered mine carts or mine rails if gold is in short supply. Now, most relevant to this video, because I'm going to tell you what we're going to work on in a minute, I rigged up our mob grinder with a crusher. So it's not very well designed. I don't even remember which button it is. I think it's this one. Turns it on. Yeah. So it opens and closes, so it lets more mobs in and then crushes them, and then lets more in and crushes them. And I tried to get the timing right so I could kill them as fast as possible, but I had to make it longer because witches actually heal themselves. So you got to find that sweet spot where witches can't just stay alive, or else then the thing will just be full of witches and no new monsters will spawn. And I just want to point out, this is not very well designed. I just threw it together, but I am just awful with designing clocks. I needed to have it 2 different timers because I wanted it to be open for a short time, but I wanted to be able to adjust how long it closed for suffocating, and it just turned into such a huge mess. But it works. So this means that I can just stand right here. Usually I'll block myself in because I'm paranoid, but I can just stand right here overnight and let the mob grinder work and get all the stuff that mobs drop. And most relevant to this video again is bones. And all my bone blocks are stored. I put them in one of these chests. This one. Got tons and tons of bone blocks to start us out for this project. So what we're working on today is we're going to get a decent fuel source to go on with, because soon I want to build a villager trading hall, and that's going to be a place that we visit a lot. So I'd at least like to be able to smelt up some stone bricks and some nice looking blocks that just get access to a few more blocks that we can use to make our builds look nice, the ones that we're going to be visiting a lot. So up until now we've been using coal. We've been mining up oak trees, or a little bit spruce, but mostly oak trees, and smelting them into charcoal, and that's been fine for our uses so far. But if we want to smelt a lot of things, that's not going to be enough, is it? So we really have two good options for renewable fuel sources here, and one of them is bamboo and the other would be kelp. So bamboo is the fastest growing plant in the game, but it also takes 4 bamboo to smelt 1 block, which isn't great. Also, it has to grow on dirt or sand, or a variant of those blocks, red sand or coarse dirt or whatever. And we don't have much of that. And kelp can grow on stone. I don't have stone down there, but it can grow on stone and grows decently fast. And what you do is you smelt it into dried kelp and craft it into dried kelp blocks. And 1 dried kelp block will smelt 20 items. So it comes out to 1 piece of kelp will end up smelting, I believe, 1.22 blocks for you, which is really good if you think about it, especially compared to bamboo. Now, there's a few ways to farm these blocks. One of them is to just lay out a whole bunch and set a timer and harvest them all at the same time and collect them with water canals. Which wouldn't work for us for bamboo because we don't have the blocks to make a large enough bamboo farm to let it grow naturally and harvest it on a timer. And it also works decently well for kelp farms, although it just takes so many kelp plants all in one area that it would just be a massive project and possibly worth it one day, but I don't think so yet. And I think a farm like that with all those pistons and redstone at this stage, all the kelp traveling through the waterways would probably cause a decent amount of lag. But in any event, I don't want to do that option. So the option we're going to go with is I'm actually going to build a single plant farm for one of these, and it's going to bone meal it and harvest it over and over. And both of these will guaranteed grow one more block in height every time you bone meal it. So 2, 3, 4, 5, up to its maximum height. But we'd probably just bone meal it here and cut it off here. And kelp works exactly the same. So we could pick either of these because we only need 1 block. We could afford 1 dirt or sand, and we can just use stone for kelp. But obviously, like I said before, it takes 4 bamboo to smelt 1 block, and 1 kelp will smelt 1.22 blocks, which literally means 1 bone meal is worth 1/4 of a block here, and 1 bone meal is where'd that go? 1 bone meal is worth more than 1 block here of smelting. So we're going to go with kelp. So I put together a farm for the kelp pretty quick that isn't anything special, but it'll do the job for us. It's just going to quickly bone meal and harvest the kelp over and over. So what I came up with is we got the dispenser on that side and the piston on that side, and I'm going to build with glass in this world, although it's going to be solid blocks in the Skyblock world because we don't have glass. So what you're going to do is you're going to connect up these two, and what we're going to do is we're going to power this redstone wire, and it's going to power the bone meal dispenser, and then it's going to 2 ticks later, it's going to power the piston. And I timed it, and that's that's the timing you have to do. Can't be faster. So I'll plant our, oh, that's bamboo. Plant our kelp in there. So like I said before, I'm decent with redstone, and I'm really awful with redstone clogs. But I put this together and it works okay. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to put a sticky piston here with a block on it and a repeater leading into it to create a rising edge 1-tick circuit. And we're going to have 2 repeaters coming out of that. And that leads into a block, which leads into redstone. So you can see the circle it creates. And you put this on 2 ticks, because if you put it on 1 tick, then the sticky piston leaves its block in the air when it gets 1 ticked. So you got to 2 tick it. So you can see here, if you put in a fast enough pulse like that, it'll just work over and over. And I'm going to fill this with bone meal so we can have a better demonstration. So this clock works well as long as you can get a 1 tick pulse into it. So we're going to have our on button here. Let me get a button. On button here. And that is going to lead into another rising edge 1 tick circuit. And it's going to go just like this. Pretty simple. This isn't compact or anything, but it's going to do the job for us. So when you press this button, that creates a 1 tick that leads into there. Easy. And you add a button here, and it actually just overloads the circuit and turns it off. So now we have our on button and our off button. The kelp collection part of this is super straightforward. You just have to have water pouring out this way, and it'll lead into a chest there, hopper. So we surround that with glass or whatever we use, probably cobblestone, I assume. Put water there, and so when the kelp rises up, gets caught in this running water, moved over to the hopper. Super easy. So that's the farm totally done. It's not beautiful or anything, but it's not beautiful or anything, but it does do the job. And you do want to put a roof over it, actually, because it does have a chance of flying out the top, I'm pretty sure, when it's going up the water. So you can see this is a pretty steady source of kelp, and it's just 1 bone meal for 1 kelp, so it's super straightforward, which means 1 stack of bone blocks will give us 9 stacks of kelp. So the way the math works out is you take 1 stack of bone blocks, and that's enough to create 9 stacks of kelp, which takes 28.8 dried kelp blocks to smelt, which obviously you get 9 stacks of dried kelp, which you craft into a full stack of dried kelp blocks, which if you subtract how many it took to smelt the kelp, you make a 35.2 kelp block profit, which is enough to smelt 11 stacks of items, which means that 1 stack of bone blocks is going to enable us to smelt 11 stacks of items, which I think is a pretty solid profit, especially because bone meal is free now. I just have to stand by the mob grinder overnight. So now I just have to pick a place to build it, and I was thinking of building it right across from the cobblestone farm, but honestly there's a lot more room over here, so I think this will be a better option. So I'm just gonna build our little kelp farm up right here, and I'll be right back. Alright, I built that up. I messed up the time lapse a little bit at the end, but I got most of the process in. It's not pretty. I might actually just build a box around the whole thing just to cover it up and make it look a little bit better. But this should be the on button, this is the off button. Actually, I just had an idea. I can't remember if I added this in any progress updates, but I got all of the rainbow sheep. So my idea is I want to shear a red sheep. And I want to shear a green sheep, lime green I suppose. Now we can have a proper start button and a proper stop button. Nicely color-coded. That looks a lot better. Okay, so I did load it up with bone meal, and it's filling up the dispenser back there. And if I didn't make any mistakes, then it should work out. When I press play here, green button, doesn't sound like anything's happening, which is hardly surprising. Oh, I didn't extend any of these repeaters. One of these repeaters has to be extended. I think I'll do that one. Go. There we go. Kelp. And one thing I forgot is that I do want to have a roof on top of this because they can fly out, like I said. And that is not an improvement aesthetically, but I might work on that later. I'm going to call it good for now. So the next step is going to be to smelt all that kelp in a pretty standard, I don't know what you call it, it's not a super smelter, but slightly more efficient and hopper fed, so it's automatic smelter. There we go, did that pretty slow. Just going to throw all my stuff over here. Get that in there. Now we gotta go find some coal, because I don't think I have any handy. I could just use, yeah, I'm just gonna smelt a couple of these logs. Alright, 2 charcoal to get us started. Throw those in there. Those get going. And we're gonna fill this up with dried kelp. Fun fact while we're waiting, if you put composters on top of hoppers, it actually reduces the lag. Putting anything on top of the hoppers will reduce the lag because it actually stops trying to... Here, throw it in. Because it stops trying to pick up items from the world, and it just looks at the inventory above it. And before composters, I think the best option was furnaces because there's only 3 inventory slots to look at, or actually just the 1 to draw from. But a composter, its entire inventory is just 7 levels of compost, so it's even a smaller thing to look at. So best way to reduce hopper lag is to put composters on top of your hoppers, unless you're actually wanting it to pick up items from the world. Alright, so I threw in some charcoal and came up with 2 stacks of dried kelp. Craft those into blocks. And these are what we're going to be smelting with for the rest of our lives, for the most part. Put this back down here. That was 14 and each one does 20, so that should smelt 280 kelp. Once I get this going, I'll have a whole bunch of dried kelp, and I'll just fill this chest up with dried kelp blocks, obviously. And then we'll have a self-sustaining system. It'll be great. I'll probably run up and grab some more bone meal because I added another chest for kelp down here, so we can really fill this system up and let it run for a while. Alright, well that pretty much does it for this episode. We've got a lot of dried kelp. I AFK'd this for a while, built 2 more of these smelters. So we've got a really good supply. Ran this for a long time. I just emptied it out, but this is full of bone meal. I just refilled it. Oh, it's not running, is it? Yeah. So, craft that up. Then we're gonna do this. Split it into 3. 1, 2, 3. Alright, not a big project today, but it's a pretty important one for the future, and got a lot of progress updates in the beginning, and then took care of this kelp farm for furnace fuel. So, directly converting bone meal from our mob farm into fuel. So thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you soon.